Hey everybody, welcome to the CNC with Dave show. We've got Mr. Jim Sinacola from Midland, Michigan joining us tonight. He's going to talk about his Gatton CNC build. And we've got some other distinguished personalities on the panel tonight. We're missing a couple of guys, but we'll go ahead and go through some introductions real quick. Brian, you want to start us off?
Yeah, I'm Brian. I'm with Summers Woodworking. You can find me on YouTube under Summers Woodworking, or you can find me at my website at summerswoodworking.co.
Okay, thanks for being here tonight, Brian.
Thanks for having me, Dave.
Mr. Mertzke.
Morning, Mike Mertzke Custom Woodworking. You can find me most active probably on Facebook and Instagram or running down the side of the road.
Yep. Okay, very good. Thanks for being here tonight, Mike. Glad you could make it.
Thanks for having me.
Rich?
Okay. Rich Moeller, San Jose, California. You can find me on YouTube under the name Shade Tree CNC, as well as on Facebook.
All righty. Thanks for being here tonight, Richard.
Thanks for inviting.
And back for a repeat visit here, we've got Zach Manring.
Yeah, I don't know how you conned me into that one. So I'm Zach, aka Southern Ginger. You can find me on YouTube under Southern Ginger Workshop, as well as Instagram and Facebook. Okay,
and I'll get with Jim here in a minute here when we let him start doing his presentation for us tonight. I did want to mention a couple of things. I hope everybody's having a good weekend. We finally got some cool weather here, good football weather, and of course Alabama beat Texas A&M today, and for the Georgia Bulldog fans, it was a good day too because they didn't lose. Unfortunately, it was just a bye week for them, but anyway, also wanted to give a shout out to my buddy Sterling Davis. He got rushed in for some gallbladder surgery, I understand, and he is out recovering. So get well soon, Sterling. And also, before I forget, I want to mention that I probably won't have a show next Saturday because I will be in Hickory, North Carolina for the Klingspor extravaganza. That's next Friday and Saturday. So if anybody's over that way and going to be at that show, I hope I'll see you there. Hope to see Sterling there. Hope he's back up and around by then. Okay, Mr. Sinacola, let's see what you've got to show us tonight.
Hi, Dave. Thanks for inviting me. I have a little slideshow, and if I just click that, will I be able to open it?
Are you going to try to share the screen? Yeah, you'll have to go to the...
I guess I don't...
If you go over to the left, and you'll see the second one down, that little green button says screen share. And if you click that and then hit, what is it, Brian? Entire screen, I think. And then you can fire up your slideshow.
Okay.
There you go. Yeah, I'll put it on you here. Okay, I'm assuming. There we go.
Oh, there we go. Okay. Well, this is my completed machine. I think I got the order from Dave about the first part of September. In the box where while I reviewed all of the plans to make sure I understood them. And I made my first cut on my birthday, October 9th. So, and it turned out pretty good, I think. into my build. You can see I just have the X-axis installed here. Got the one motor on. The rails completely point. Mistake of trying to put the rod through non-motor end toward the motor end. And of course, with the tight tolerance of the lead screw and the bearing, hard fit. It took me quite a while to get it. Talked to Mark Lindsay. He says, "Oh yeah, you just a few inches and then just push in from the other way." So
Yeah.
everybody does it. To do the whole screw.
Okay, now Jim, for our viewers that are watching, did you make your machine exactly to the plans? Is that a 48 by 48 piece of plywood you're using as the table?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
I made it exactly to the plans. So
Okay.
because the room I have it in is only 15 by 15, so it takes up a good chunk of the room.
Okay.
But the nice part is that I run to the front edge. It overhangs about 4.5, 5 inches. I'll put my mini lathe in front of that on a table built on the edge of my router table. And if that works out, that'll be cool. This was a tramming trick that I learned from Rich Moeller. Problem in a complete carve on a shallow carve. I readjusted my table level, and then I zeroed out this tool, made it by hand. I got a complete circle. I think I'm pretty good there. And I wanted to show these.
I'm laughing because I know why you're showing those.
The anti-backlash nut has these installed. If you knock them out, your lead screw to go in there because it allows the springs to close. When I put them back in, the lead screw went right in. So don't lose those.
Yeah, you can get it in without them, but it's a lot easier to just let the lead screw go in and then push those out.
It works great. Actually, it's about 10 times easier.
Yeah.
I couldn't get it. I couldn't get it to start, and I was afraid I was going to maul the entry thread.
Mm-hmm.
Gee, why can't I do this? So I pushed that plug back in there, and that thing just fit right on.
Yeah.
This was a made, and actually that red X should be about in the middle of those green circles are the bearings. Well, I put my Z plate on a vertical and a horizontal between the two divots that you made on the front Z plate, the backlash block, and I created a horizontal and a vertical, and then I extended that around to the side of the nut block. Just through just enough to make a divot. When I planted this like a crosshair there, I drilled the pilot holes for the block, and then I glued and screwed the block in. I Z axis in straight through the no problems at all. So for me, it was easy. So here's my first screw, and I did cut this off. but I cut it by hand. I had to remember, I left it about 2 inches long, and I couldn't remember why I did that now, but I knew at the time. I says, oh, I want to leave that a little bit long. Now, I'll think of it. And so I couldn't resist. I didn't have the motor running yet. Put my drill to it, and I was able to run the axis back and forth, so that really got me excited. I says, oh, I'm going to complete this. So I was pretty happy.
Mm-hmm.
And here it is, pretty much assembled. I got my motors mounted. I just use number 10 screws, a lock washer, and it's a pretty tight fit, and it gives a nice access to the for tightening on the screw. And these are NEMA 24s, and they fit the holes that you drilled. I didn't have any problems loading that either. It made a nice rigid fit.
Mm-hmm.
Different angle. And you can see I have real open access to the connector there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you've got it where it's real easy to get in there.
Right. And then as it went along, I kept checking the perpendicularity and the level. So I just wanted to show that I did. This is just from a different angle. And to sand the, or to down, I had some of this Abernet on hand that I use for woodworking. And I absolutely love this stuff, because it goes all the way up to 600 grit. Very versatile. And I use that. And it just tells us about this assortment pack that I had. But it lasts a long time. And so I just wore leather gloves, and I only did the screw that needed to fit through the idle bearing, and it just slipped right in after I did that. And that's all that I have for this one. If I just close this, David, it'll just close out this session.
Yeah, there's a button somewhere that says stop sharing, or stop screen share, I mean.
Okay, there it is. Yeah. Huh. Am I still on?
Yeah, don't hit that. Don't hit that one.
Okay.
Yeah, there's another one. If you go over, I think it's at the bottom. I want to say.
Sharing. Yep. There it is. Sorry about that.
There you go. Okay, I know. Of course, before we went live, you were holding up the can of General Finishes. If you would hold that up again, I noticed somebody had a question over there where they were asking if it was paint or stain or what, and I think Zach told him it was the dye, but somebody may be interested.
Okay, so I want to get out of this. I got to close this out, I think. I wonder why this is all open.
Oh, you just probably have to go down.
There, I'm back, right?
There you go. Yep.
Yep.
But I got all this stuff in the background. Okay. Let me switch over to my other camera.
Okay.
And, I could do it on this one. Okay. Do I have to click on my?
No, as long as you're talking, it'll go to you.
Okay, it's General Finishes, and it's called Orange. And it's a dye stain. It's a water-based dye stain. And they probably have about 30 different colors, all of the rainbow. And I thought, oh, this is a pretty cool color because it's almost like the Gatton GarageWorks color orange. So, and this can be applied by spray. I have an Erlex sprayer, on with that. It can be ragged on. It can use foam brush. It's very easy to use. And what I did is I put one coat on, you let it set for a while, and then you wipe off the excess that doesn't soak in. Dries. I did a light sanding with 220 grit and take any rays, and then I put a second coat on and it darkened it up, and it was really nice.
Yeah, I see some people over in the chat commenting about how good your machine looks, and I have to say I really like the look of that die. It looks really good.
And then I happen to have on hand a different product, but General Finishes makes a top coat, but I had this on hand, so I didn't go out and buy the top coat. This is just Minwax water based. Most of this on, and it's just as smooth as glass now. So it turned out really good.
Yep. Jim, I see we have some folks over in the chat asking about your stepper motors. What can you want to talk about the size of your stepper motors, or even talk about your drive box too?
Okay, I was going to get to that, but the stepping motors controls come from Build Your CNC. Because several years ago, I had purchased a book MDF machine, and it was terrible. I just could not get things to line up. I bought the drawings, and I'm following the. I felt really bad because this guy built it in his bathroom, so his bench doesn't have any tools. He's doing it all by hand, and he shows this machine at the end. And I says, oh, God, man, I must be a real jerk. I can't make this thing work at all. So I kind of gave up on it. I ran across you on YouTube, and it works. So I'm extremely pleased with it. Unfortunately, I don't have any zoom capability to zoom in, so I have another show, a slideshow, about my drive box, but the motors are 450 ounce stepper motors. Build Your CNC, including the control boxes, and I'll show all that. And I have a wiring diagram that Richard Moeller let me use. It's the same diagram they had, but his was much better than mine, so he let me use his for tonight's show.
Okay.
Any other questions? I did.
Go ahead.
I'm running. I just purchased a Vectric 8.5 software with vCarve, and then I have the Mach 3. So I have about $1,000 in software just for that part.
Okay. Well, I know the kind of questions I always get, so we'll go ahead before you go with anything else. We'll go ahead and try to get through some of those, and I'm surprised somebody hadn't already answered them over there in the chat yet. But the question I always get, I get it asked, with all the emails I get, I usually get asked at least 2 or 3 times a day. What can a person expect to have in the machine? So did you keep up with what you've got in it as far as materials and all that?
I have $1,100 in it.
1,100?
Yeah, and that includes the table. I built the table, and I have as many parts in this table as you have in the CNC machine. Go figure.
Okay. Well, that's pretty much right around what I tell people. I usually say, you're probably going to have around 1,000 to 1,250 less computer and software. So all total, you said you're running Mach 3 with the bundle vCarve Pro and Photo vCarve. So all total, you've got still less than $2,000?
Yes.
In the whole machine.
Yeah, that's very reasonable. Because I just got a flyer from Woodcraft today, and they have their number 4 or something. And it's like almost $4,000 just for the machine. But
yeah, I think I got that same
this is-
flyer in the mail today too. Okay, well, another question that I always like to ask, just because I like to know, what would you say during your build? What would you say was the hardest thing to do?
Well, I tell you, I like your videos. I watched every one of your videos probably 3 or 4 times. And then just before I get ready to build that part, I would watch that part again, complete that part. The hardest part I had was with getting the lead screws into the idle bearing. And I didn't know how at first to adjust the resistance on the bearings. So one time I would have it so tight that it wouldn't move, so I'd back them off. And then I went the other way, which is too loose, and there was a little bit of movement in, say, for instance, the axis. And so I tighten those up and down really nice, and the X and the Y. And when I did the tuning of the motors and coupled the A to the Y, I set that at 200 inches per minute, and I got a racking in that, and I just couldn't get it out. I'd set those things up, I'd turn them by hand and get them exactly set so they're exact 2 or 3 inches from the end, and I'd run that motor and it would rack. And so I started chasing a whole bunch of things like, oh, is it the bearings? I looked at the alignment of the screw, and I took all kinds of measurements to make sure that that screw didn't have a bend or a bow in it. And it just takes time. I would say don't rush it. Really nothing that is extremely difficult in this build, in my opinion. So if you're already woodworking machine, what I did was I reduced the inches per minute down to 150. The Y and A move perfectly up and down. There's no racking at all. I might try it sometime up to 175 to see if that works, but at 150 inches, it works great.
Did you put anything at all on the lead screws? Any kind of lubrication?
Yes, I did. What I use is a DuPont Teflon solution that you can buy in an automotive store, and it dries. If you hang on just a second, I'll go get it.
Okay.
It's a DuPont Teflon non-stick. It dries where it's not liquid at all, but it leaves a nice Teflon film. That on the screw, they seem to be working good. They don't make any noise or anything.
Okay. Yeah, I've always used white lithium grease on mine. Just put a little dab on there and run the lead screws back and forth, and it kind of helps keep.
I didn't have any.
It kind of helps keep the dust out of them too, because as you're running it back and forth, all the crud sticks to the white lithium grease that's globbed up in front of the Acme nut. So it kind of works as a sweeper almost to keep that dust out of there.
Yeah, with this stuff, it doesn't stick to it. It's like using stuff that they use on the Cub Scouts make, dry lube.
Mm-hmm.
This stuff worked great for me. It has so far,
okay.
But I've only cut 2 things.
Okay. Well, I know you're still new at it and haven't had it completed a real long time, but Excuse me, I'm just trying to read the stuff in the chat too. Tim Stegeman is he talking about feed rate or velocity, acceleration at 150? You're talking about velocity,
Inches
right?
per minute. Yes. It's
Yeah.
whatever in Mach 3. So you can put in, and I think you recommended putting in 200 inches per minute. I got my X going at 200. I have the Z going at about 100, or I think. So.
Okay, I'm going to try to answer some questions here, Jim, if you don't mind, out of the chat. Joseph Connor is asking, if an individual builds a Gatton CNC machine according to the plans, what would the maximum cutting area be? Well, the plans call for using exactly a half sheet of plywood, 48 by 48. But then of course, you're going to lose a little bit. So the cutting area, I think you'd be safe to say, would be probably 45 in the X, and probably 34 or so, 34 or 35, something like that in the Y. And let's see, there's another question here. Does it matter which side you put the stepper motor on? Can you change it in the program? Yeah, it doesn't really matter. You know, I design them to go on the X for the stepper motor to be on the right side as you're facing the machine, but you could put it on the other side if you wanted to. Same thing with the Garage Works. I know some people have bought the Garage Works and actually, you know, built it with it on the other side. So it works.
Yeah, I put mine on the left-hand side just because of where the machine was in my shop versus where the computer setup was going to be. Yeah.
Like if you're putting it in a corner or something up against the wall, it may be more advantageous to put it on the other side. Random audio guy, he says, Dave, what is your opinion on this machine versus your Garage Works, and do you plan on keeping both types available? Yeah, I just put an order in with my fabricator to get some more Garage Works parts made. And as far as this design, the plywood machine, I've got 2 of them out of my garage and I run them every day. So both good machines. You know, some people just, you know, like the pretty shiny ones, and some people would rather build their own and make it shiny. So,
I just did my block. I didn't make it real big because I was using a piece of plywood, but I made it 3 by 3 with a 1-inch hole in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
And it was 3 inches, and I measure like 3 1/64 with a digital caliper. And on the hole, 63 64ths. And I tried to redo the steps per inch and much, and it comes back like when I do it on the steel rule, I went 30 inches each way. I went 30 inches in the Y and went 30 inches in the X. Oh, maybe it's programmed it in V-carve. I don't know. Well,
I mean, if it was drawn, you know, exactly 3 by 3, then that's what it should cut. You know, it's really kind of hard to, you know, if you could do the calibration and make it as big as possible, that's always best. But, you know, not everybody has a 24-inch caliper or something like that, you know. So I would say, you know, because if you're laying a steel rule down, you got the eyeball error, you know, the angle you're looking at it and all that kind of stuff. So really the only good way, in my opinion, is to have some kind of calipers, whether it's digital or dial calipers or whatever. But, you know, and then you just have to make it as big as whatever you can measure with your calipers. But, you know, I know when I only got a 6-inch. Yeah. So I know when I did mine the other day, and I could have even done it a second time and even dialed it in more, but I got it to within 1 thou. all the way around on that 3-inch square. So, and you know, for crying out loud, the stuff I make, you know, that's plenty good. You know, 10 or 15 thou would be good for the stuff I make.
I can't see a 64th of an inch without a magnifying glass, let me tell you.
Yeah, well, that's only a hair over 15 thou, so you know, that's why I say when you're trying to lay a steel rule and do the calibration by putting a V-bit or something in there that's got a point on it and doing it, you're still looking at it with your eyeballs. So it's kind of like pulling a tape measure. Tape measures, you know, I don't know about you guys, but whenever I build something, whatever tape measure I start building it with, I use that same tape measure throughout the build, because you pick up a different one, if you've dropped it and bent a little tab on the end or something, they'll be different, and then you wonder why stuff doesn't fit you because you've used 2 or 3 different tape measures. And I know some guys say they have a tape measure all over their shop so they don't have to hunt one. Well, I use the same one. Whatever one I start with, that's the one I use throughout the build.
Yeah, one of the things you might want to keep in mind is that you're cutting a 3-inch block, so you're trying to figure out the steps per inch. So when you do the math in Mach 3, it's going to take the measurement that you've taken, and it's going to divide it by 3. But if you get a long 30-inch, 36-inch steel rule and tell your machine to move 30 inches, that's going to take that 30 inches or whatever the actual measurement is, and it's going to divide it by 30. So you're going to get a much finer number per inch when it does the recalculation. So I would put a V-bit.
Yeah, that's what I did.
Yeah, I would put a V-bit in. The way I do ours at work is I just bring a V-bit down and touch it off the spoil board, tell it to go over 45 inches or whatever, and touch it off again, and then use a steel rule to measure it. Now, granted, I might be, plus or minus a 32nd of an inch, but now I'm going to take that 32nd of an inch and I'm going to divide it by the number of inches that I used. So it's going to be a much finer number when you get down to calibrating it.
And I went 30 inches, and I did it 2 times, so I'm pretty happy with this because I got a square. The only thing that I don't like, tab. I put a tab around. I notice whatever the tab is, drill bit touched the side. A little divot in there that I was selling this, I probably wouldn't want that to show up. So I think what I'm going to do is have a spoil board that I'll hold down hard fast, and I'm just going to fasten it with screws. I don't have to put the tabs in it. Anybody else notice that? Putting tabs in their piece?
I don't use tabs.
I don't think I'm going to either.
Yeah, I just use double-sided tape.
I'm a tab.
Depending on when the your spindle goes up and down and the bit goes up and down, sometimes it'll leave those kind of a slight registration mark where the bit goes up and down.
That's what it looks like because it's the whole piece. I mean, it's right along the whole edge here.
Yeah.
I have another slideshow, Dave, if you want to see it about my drive system.
Yeah.
Controller?
Go ahead and fire that up, Jim.
Okay, so I got to do the control system. Share screen. Well, macro, I'm going down the rabbit hole here.
There's too many Russes on the screen.
It'd be worse if we were side by side, but I got you in between us.
for this to come up. So
You're all side by side on mine.
Yeah, you're side by side on mine too.
Well, I just know I'm the better looking of the two.
Yeah. Okay.
okay. Find out. So let me see if I can open this. Okay. Can you guys see this?
Yeah.
Okay, this is a diagram I got from Rich Moeller, and it's the very same diagram that I have, but you can see the motor controllers, and in my system there's 4 because I have a 4th one. But then you have the motors are connected to the controllers, and then there's a set of wires for the CW plus and minus and CP plus and minus that go to the breakout board, which is right here. Have a common, and the wires go into that. Supply up here, and there's actually no that you need to do on this part at all, except for what I use for my wire connections, which is probably different than other people have used. You have the capability of adding in switches. Rich has actually made his where it can turn his router and his vacuum system on automatically from within the program. His hookup right up here. For me, this wasn't too hard to do because it's all color coded and you have to just keep track of where you and it goes okay. There's really nothing magical about this. So I thought it went pretty good. So out of the computer, Mach 3 uses the parallel port. Even though I'm using a desktop unit, I'm using a UC100, which connects to a USB on here, and on the other end it has the parallel port, then it connects to my breakout board. It's worked really good. Setup I have, and you can see my 4 controllers here. There's X, Y, Z, and A. 2 salvaged Xerox mainframe muffin fans. It's on those things. 2 in 1973, and they're still working. I mean, they're great. They have about 300 CFM flowing through, and they're pretty cool. Okay. And here's the other side of the fans here, and you can see here's the power supply, my fans, and then X, Y, and Z. And if you can't guess what this is, you must not have a trailer, because this is trailer wire to hook up the lights of the 4 wires that go to the motors. And the reason I used this was, number 1, it's readily available. Connectors. It's 16 gauge. It has a very tough exterior. And right now I don't have a drag chain, but I'm planning on making a drag chain as soon as I can. But I think the first thing I'm going to cut out is I have to cut out the dust chute because this thing does make dust. Here's another view. And now you can see the board. From Build Your CNC. It has a 5-volt USB power supply that I take off from the computer. And I'll just go a little bit deeper here. And then here's a built-on relay that you can use to switch high voltage power, and I believe this is what Rich Moeller is using to control.
Yep. It's isolated from the rest of the board, so.
Yeah. So on a board, I didn't put it in a box, but and I really didn't need these cooling fans, but I had them, so I utilized them. And right now, this is just sitting full. And on the front part of my table, where most of the chips are blown out, or the dust is blown out, I just put a just to keep the dust from going underneath there. And it's working out pretty cool. That's that.
It's a very nice layout.
Yeah, it's nice and tidy.
It's pretty make this more compact if you wanted to, because they don't even have to be spaced out this far. But
so we have a
this
question over in the chat, Jim. Somebody's wanting to know what size power supply that is you're using.
it's a 36 volt. I can't remember the amps, but I think it's. Have to look at it. Oh, maybe I can see it if I look on there. No, it's on the other side. Right now, it's underneath my table. If you go to Build Your CNC, this is the power supply that you get when you buy into their motor controller kits. They sell a 3-motor, a large motor, and 3 smaller motors. Like if you have a large gantry, like if you had a big router on your Z-axis, you could put a 650 ounce on that. So they have a lot of options, but I bought them from there. I'll show you a motor that I bought off of Amazon, and in the writing they said it was a 450 NEMA 24, a 1/4-inch shaft. When it showed up, it had a 5/16 shaft, so I can't use it as a direct replacement for my other 3. So I'm going to have to go to the a new coupling with a 5/16.
Yeah, the website has that as a 36 volt power supply, 8.8 amps.
Yeah, and right now, all my motors are controllers are set to 3 amps on here. They use 2.7 or 2.8 or 2.6, but yeah, so far it's just one. I think this whole setup, you'd have to go look at it, but depending on the size of motors, you spend anywhere from $350 to $425 or $450. Is that this setup allows you to have a controller independent. I think on the box, the Xylotex box, all these are on one board. So if you have a board failure, you could lose everything.
Yep.
One. And I think the controllers, they're about $50. Of the breakout board, these are so here's the X, the Y connected here. So these are all the outputs going to the motor. And then over here, there's limit switches and inputs that you can put in like a probe or whatever you want to do there. So, or if you have one of those devices that would come as an input here. And then here's the little relay, D100, connected up. And
Okay, I hate to interrupt you, Jim. Your audio is kind of breaking up pretty bad. And I see over there in the chat, some folks are saying they're having trouble hearing you. So your supplier for your motors and all that, you say you got that from buildyourcnc.com, right? That's from left over from a kit you'd bought previously?
Yes.
Okay.
They still offer those too. I was just on their site just to check things out. Also that they have limited the number of different machines they have, but they have a very, very powerful laser over there too. But now here's a picture of the controller, and dip switches that you set according to how you want to run this. And for instance, to get the 116, you flip on switches and you get a 116 micro step, and you can go up to 164th. And then there's 3 additional switches. The motors need 2.6, the closest is 2.7, but the recommendation was to 3 amp.
Yep,
So,
go 3.
Yeah, so I have, my switches are set for 1/16, so 1 and 2 are flipped on. Switches 5, 6, and 7 are also switched on. 4 and number 8 are unused. Yeah, I have another picture here.
Do you plan to add limit switches and all that?
Here's the, not based on what I hear from the group here, and I'd like a pretty big group, and people aren't using limit switches, and I'll probably be standing in front of it when I'm making something. That was, when I first got it, I got a little excited, and I'm running the gantry toward me, and it hit the end, and I thought I was going to break, and then I panicked that I couldn't. I'm thinking about wiring in physical U-stop, so I can have it right there and just hit it. I also have the pendant, the Mach 3 pendant, that, and I got to program that yet, so I have to do that, and maybe I won't do it, because if I'm right there, then I can just stop it. So when you have to touch a keyboard and move a mouse to hit the reset button to stop it. Now here you can see the outputs here. This is going to the A axis. So the yellow is the common. Then I have these little number tags on there that coming from the breakup, going to the breakup board. And then these 4 is the trailer wire, and they go to C+, C-, A+. And then this is the power from the power supply right here. And that's about it for my controls. And first time, I mean, you got to keep track of stuff, but that's not hard to do.
Yeah, you did a good job wiring all that up. I really like the way your layout is, and everything's nice and organized, and looks very nice.
Thank you. Thank you. So I'm going to stop sharing this unless anybody wants to take a look at anything else.
If anyone's interested in that drawing, it's on my Facebook page. They can download it.
Okay, so I can close this out, and now I'm back.
Yeah, you're
I
back.
can switch to my other screen here, my other camera.
Yeah, we're still having some issues with your audio, though. It's breaking up pretty bad.
I'm sorry. I'll try to
All
talk
said and
slow.
done. All said and done. You like the machine?
Yes, I do. Yeah, I really
want.
like it. I'm very close to pulling the trigger on a Garage Works, the deal that he cut the parts. I said, I'm going for it. So I did. Garage Works.
You almost do.
Okay, this is the stepper motor. I go over here. This is an EMA 24 stepper motor. And you wire this according to the directions that the manufacturer gives you. And these particular motors are hooked up what they call a bipolar parallel. Bipolar. The only soldering connection I have is right here. Whoops. The trailer wire that goes to and so I have all these male connectors on the ends of the motors. I also put a sheeting around the wires. And then I use the female to make the connection from here to the breakout board. Now the really nice thing about this is that I only have about 18 inches. I can pull this apart and I don't have to touch my controller side on a motor. I can do that relatively easy. And again, the nice thing about this is that you can buy this trailer wire that you want. So you can buy an extension for it. So if you didn't make it long enough with the plain wire, they have 2-foot, 4-foot, and 6-foot extensions, so you can get any length that you need to build. I standardize on the number 8 1.5 screws, and I use these throughout the build tree. Along here, I use the make sure I got through 2 pieces of the 3/4 inch ply at the bottom, and I use square heads because I really like the square heads. You can get a good right now in my.
Jim, I was going to ask you a while ago, you were mentioning you're using the UC 100.
Yes.
Did you have any issues at all getting that set up and working correctly with Mach 3?
I just followed their directions and I was able to pick it. I didn't make any changes in Mach 3 at all. I don't even have the parallel on mine at all.
What version of Windows are you running?
I'm running on the machine. I'm running an XP on an isolated desktop. It's not connected to the network. On my Windows 10, and it does simulations really good. So I believe that it would run on Windows 10. On it, it works fine. And I've also run it on Windows 7 also. And the computer that I'm using right now, and I haven't tried it on this, but it should work okay because the Windows 10 32-bit drivers are also on here, so there shouldn't be any problem running on a 64-bit machine parallel port. And that's where that UC 100 comes in great. Because Windows still supports 32-bit action on their 64-bit machines.
Yeah, I've seen some stuff on Facebook and different places of people saying they're having some issues, but I haven't had any problems other than if I forget to turn my stupid Wi-Fi off when I'm using it, and then something tries to update, it'll make the machine stop. But other than that, as long as I remember to turn the Wi-Fi off, it works flawless. So, I turn the
screensaver off. I turn the go to sleep off. So there's some settings you have to turn off, especially if you're using a laptop. So you can turn all that stuff off. It works okay. I wanted to show this little device. This device is a adapter. I'm not using Wi-Fi. I cord from the basement through my electrical system up to my router. And I've been using this for several years, and it works fantastic. To be just about anywhere in my house. But the wire runs real short. Cost about $20 a piece. You need at least two when it's connected to your router, and then when it's connected to your PC. And before the advent of Wi-Fi printers, I was able to use these and print to my printer. So that was really nice.
Okay. Well, is there anybody on the chat over there that has any questions for Jim? I notice there's some questions over there that I see. Philip Barnes says, how many guys watching have built one of these or a Garage Works with 269-ounce motors with half-inch lead screws? I don't know if anybody's built them. I always use, if they use what I recommend, they're buying the Xylotex kit, which is the 425 ounce steppers. And but I do have, if you've watched any of my really old videos and seen my old metal machine tool gray Sidewinder that's in my shop, that Xylotex kit is so old, it does have the 269-ounce stepper motors using those same half-inch lead screws, and it runs fine. If that answers your question. I don't know if it did or not, but I don't see any other questions over there.
Hey, Dave, I have a question for you.
Okay.
On the Christmas contest, does it have to be an original design, or you can use components designs?
All right. You say that again, Jim. I'm sorry, you're breaking up still, so I'm trying to.
Okay, on the Christmas contest,
Uh-huh.
can you use purchased designs, or do you have to be original designs?
Well, I posted some stuff on my website, and I'm glad you brought that up because I was going to mention that before we close out tonight. There's a few of the basic rules, but some other things I put on there that's not necessarily a rule, but just kind of suggestions or stuff like that. But if you can come up with an original idea for a Christmas themed project, that's great. If you don't, if you use something else that belongs to somebody else or whatever, I would think you'd want to, give them credit for giving you the file or whatever. But I don't know. Does that answer your question, Jim?
Yeah.
Okay. Has anybody got anything else?
Yeah, Jim, I have a question. Just what kind of stuff do you plan on making with that thing?
Well, the next thing I want to make some signs, but I'm really interested in relief carving. Carver, so I use chisels and that. I've done a lot of hand relief and stuff, so I'm interested in doing. I'd like to do some fireplace mantles, that kind of thing.
Definitely look forward to seeing some pictures. You gonna post some videos also?
I will, but you have to understand that I'm a noob. And my learning curve is So I got software. I have the machine that I want to try, but it's going to be a while.
Got nothing but time.
Yep. Hope I die learning.
I plan on dying learning. It's the only way to go.
Yeah. Okay, I noticed another question somebody asked over there. How many people have tried milling steel? Which, I mean, I know a lot of, I guess that's the cool thing now to try to mill steel, but, to me, I mean, even though your machine can do it, doesn't mean you should do it. If you're gonna get heavy in the milling steel, you probably should buy something that's made for that.
Yeah, I'd also like to say too, Dave, if I could just interject again. This group has a lot of very talented people, supportive for new people answering their questions. They don't get upset, and they share a lot. So it's meant a lot to me. Those and other people's videos, and I've talked with Rich Moeller, and they've been very supportive.
Yeah, that's one thing that I like about the CNC community with the different Facebook groups and all that. I mean, if you've got a question, you put it on Facebook, probably in less than 30 minutes, somebody's going to reply and put a comment on there and stuff like that. So, and as I've often said, one of the whole reasons I've been doing this for as long as I have is to try to show people that, you don't have to have a ton of money to get a CNC in your shop if you want one. They're not that hard to build. That's why I've done videos and, offer kits and stuff like that, try to make it as easy as I can. And, it's just, you can do it. I mean, I know it's a kind of a learning curve, especially if you're brand new and don't know about programming or anything, starting from scratch on all of it, but it's still, anybody can do it. It's not that big a deal.
Well, at my very
Anybody
first,
else? Go ahead, Jim.
I'll tell you this, I made the new mistake. I cut out the Roadrunner that's supplied by Mach 3. Set it up. I went to the left corner and I zeroed the X, Y, and Z. And I raised up the motor. And I forgot to turn the router on. And so it goes to the start point, plunges that, and it made a beautiful scratches, and I'm panicking. How do I turn this off fast? But
it's all part of learning.
Yeah, gotta pay.
Yes, we've all been there.
Yeah, just think of it this way, Jim. The good thing is, since you've built that machine yourself, even if you tear it up, you're probably going to know how to fix it.
I think so.
That's a good advantage, I think, to building your own. I like people that don't mind getting their hands dirty and want to build their own. I think they probably learn a lot quicker as far as knowing their machine and stuff like that. So. Okay, well, I guess I don't see any other questions over there. What's that, Mike?
Said it sure beats having to call a service rep out.
Yeah. Okay, well, as Jim mentioned a while ago, about the 2016 Gatton CNC Christmas Challenge. If you're just now tuning in to the show or just now kind of stumbling across the YouTube videos or whatever, we're having a challenge for us CNC folks. It's going to start on Black Friday, November 25th, I think it is, and will end on Christmas Eve at 11:59 p.m. So just shoot a short video. All the stuff about the challenges on the website, and a link is in the description of this video. I think I've got a link down there, but it's on the CNCSidewinder.com website. So check that out. Hope we get lots of entries. I've already got a couple of sponsors lined up. Of course, I've budgeted some stuff. If anybody out there, wants to donate T-shirt, coffee cup, any that kind of stuff for prizes, we'd be glad to get some help there. I guess that's gonna do it. Anybody on the panel got anything they want to talk about before we sign out of here?
Hey Dave, I'll donate one of my famous push sticks.
Hey, there you go. I've seen those push sticks. Those are nice. Okay, appreciate that, Zach.
No problem, man.
Let's see what else we got here.
I'll do one of my clocks.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Russ. Speaking of Russ, I guess we need to get the Russ update too. You didn't think you were going to get out of here without the update, did you, Russ?
I
The whole
actually
reason you've been still
did
sticking
think
around.
I thought I was going to slip by.
Yeah.
Mm.
Well, there's people in the chat asking for it. They want the Russ Meadows update. So.
Well, it's still not done.
Okay. All right. Well,
It's in the same location that it was the last time you asked me that question. I
okay.
think the tools are in the same spot.
Okay. Well, we'll ask again in a couple of weeks. I'm not gonna have a show probably next weekend, but
I'm telling you, I could have used it. I'm working on something right now, and it's a dashboard for a '69 Jaguar that was made out of wood. Got water damage, and my father-in-law is rebuilding this car for a fella, and he wanted me to rebuild him another one and make it use digital gauges, which it didn't come with. And that CNC would have been spot on if I'd have had it done. I could have had the thing done in 45 minutes, but no, I don't have it done. So I'm having to do it by hand. And it's a tough job.
yeah,
But I'm getting there.
a wooden dashboard sounds like the perfect CNC job.
It sure does. I may have to go over to Juan Lopez's house and do it, finish it up over there. Quit laughing, bro.
I see somebody was asking what grade of plywood do you use to build the Gatton CNC. I make the kits out of the Pure Bond plywood from Home Depot. It's pretty much the best thing I can get here locally. I've got a Home Depot about 3 or 4 miles from my house, so that's it's a good quality. You'll run into a void every once in a while, but it's definitely the best stuff I've seen.
Yeah, I think that's about the best.
Unless you go to the really high. What's that, Mike?
I said that's the best you're probably going to get from a big box store without going to a plywood dealer.
Right. Yeah. If you go to a lumber yard or something, you can get the really good stuff, but you're going to pay a lot more too, probably.
Hey Dave, Kenneth is asking what the official giveaway date is. Do you happen to know that yet?
I thought we were going to make it through this show without somebody asking me about it. I got something in the works. I'm not quite ready to make an announcement yet, but yeah, you just have to keep coming back to watch because there will be a big announcement coming up very soon. I already got out the old basket thing. What do you call that thing you spin around? I got that out and dusted it off the other day, so got an announcement coming up for that.
Oh, one more
Okay,
thing.
I see.
I was going to say one more thing, Dave. Not only a clock, that I said the CNC or the Simply Wooden Creations clock, right? Can you hear me, Dave?
Yes, I'm listening.
Oh,
I'm writing down. I'm writing down this while you're saying it here.
okay. I also do a $25 Visa gift card, so I can do 2.
Oh
Okay.
man, does that mean I have to up mine too? Jeez, Russ.
I gotta outdo you.
I'll
And
give
if he
away.
just-
I'll give away 2 push sticks.
Okay, I'm writing this stuff down. So
Write it
don't-
down.
I'm gonna give a push stick to Russ over there.
He needs it to push.
he needs a push.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He needs it to push his butt out to the shop to get that dang CNC put together.
If I could just find somebody to make that modification for me, instead of having to do it myself, I'd be ready to go.
You don't actually have to do the modification.
Yeah, that's just something I recommend, but you don't have to do that.
I know. I know.
Hey, Russ, if you box it up, send it to me. I'll put it together for you, but you got to drive up here to get it.
Where you located?
Michigan.
He's in
No, thank
Michigan.
No, thank you. Too cold.
Send it to North Carolina.
Dave, I see there's a question there about the Z travel. I went 6 inches,
Let's talk shop.
even 2 more, but with the 6 bearings on there, and I talked to you about this, I can raise this stuff above, go between the top 4. So I probably got about 8 inches of Z travel.
Yeah, it's designed where you can get a bunch because, that's one reason why there's 6 bearings there. No matter how far up you raise it, you'll always be in at least 4 of them. So
Yeah, that was actually a question of mine. You're saying 8 inches? So if the bit can handle it, right? I mean, most of your bits are not much past 3 inches.
yeah. I see Douglas from Retro Weld is over there in the chat. Hey, Doug, how you doing?
Yeah, he joined at the end.
Becca Miller. We've had a good crowd, and I got 60-some folks watching. All right, I guess we're going to sign out here. Like I said, there probably won't be a show, and when I say probably, I don't know. I'm going to be at the Klingspor Extravaganza. I'll probably take my laptop with me, and depending on what kind of Wi-Fi I have at the hotel, I may just kind of do an impromptu hangout show or something. I don't know. We'll see. Don't know what that'll be like just yet because this will be my first time going over there. So anyway, I guess that's going to do it. Anybody else got anything?
Did you happen to see Melinda yet?
No, she's I haven't seen her or talked to her recently. But she's actually, I'm riding with her to the thing because she's doing the demonstration for Jet at that Klingspor Extravaganza next weekend. So yeah, either she's riding with me or I'm riding with her. I don't think we've decided which one who's driving yet. But anyway, we're going to be going there. So hopefully there'll be some folks there come around and say hello while we're there. So
That's kind of why I suggested it. A mini meetup.
yeah, well, like I said, I know Sterling Davis said he goes to that every year. And of course, with him having that surgery today, I don't know what gallbladder surgery is like. I've never had it, so I don't know. I know they these days they pretty much get you out moving around pretty quick. So I don't know. Hopefully he can still make that. And I don't know if anybody else is going to be. Okay, Matt Peel says, "Say my name." Okay, there you go, Matt. you got your 2 seconds of fame here on the CNC with Dave show.
Hey, Dave. Maybe after this the show you go to, do you want to maybe try to do one of these live CNC with Dave's from my shop?
Yeah, a CNC with Dave on location.
There you go.
Hey, I can dig that. Yeah, we'll do that. I will say I've got some other guests lined up. Like I said, I probably may not do a show next week. We'll see. The weekend after that, I don't have anybody confirmed, so I'm not going to mention any names. But I do have Bill Griggs. I talked to him earlier this evening, and he is going to be on here November 12th, and we're going to talk about how to make money with your hobby CNC. So
Very cool. Very cool.
that's something that Bill knows a lot about, so that should be a pretty cool show. And I know I'll have a lot of questions for him.
Or how to sell it if you're in Russia's shape.
Yeah, or how to sell a CNC. Yeah. Okay, I guess we're going to do it, guys. Appreciate everybody hanging around. Please, if you would, hit the thumbs up on your way out. And I guess that's going to do it for this week. Everybody have a great weekend, and we'll talk to y'all later.
All right, see you, everyone.
Good night.